Welcome to the Panic Chamber, week number 8, brought to you by Grindhouse. Get your Grindhouse apparel. Look at this stuff right here. Look at this stuff right here. I'm giving away one of these. I'll tell you in a second. Right now, we're looking at the Panic Chamber players for week number 8. We're going to start off with Christian McCaffrey. Are we going to close the doors on Christian McCaffrey? Or are we going to close the doors on his counterpart, Deebo Samuel? What about Kyler? What about Swift? What about Herbert? We're breaking it all down. The Fantasy Football Show, Panic Chamber, week number 8.
It begins right now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
Okay, so we're talking Christian McCaffrey right out of the gate. But first of all, go get your Grindhouse apparel. Look at this bad boy. I'm wearing the Spider hoodie right now. This one right here, and I'm giving this away. I'm giving one of these away on behalf of Grindhouse on my Instagram. So get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com and stay tuned to my stories, and I'll be giving one of these away tomorrow. The Spider hoodie, the one I'm wearing right now, it's fantastic. It fits amazingly. These are vintage movie tees straight from the attic, movies from 40 plus years ago. They're like poster boards, and it's Godzilla, the Beast, Spider, Reptilicus. There's so many different amazing hoodies and t-shirts. We're giving away the Spider hoodie on my Instagram. Make sure you're following Grindhouse Supply as well on IG, and then also go to grindhouse.com, grndhaus grindhouse.com. Go get your apparel right now. Let's get to it. Panic Chamber week number 8. Is Christian McCaffrey a player we are panicking on? And I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, of course we are. But the question is, do we like him in Panic Chamber value? Because make no mistake about it, I might like somebody that we even close the doors on and put him in full Panic Chamber mode. I could buy Christian McCaffrey. I would potentially buy Christian McCaffrey at the right price, but bottom line is anybody that owns him, they're looking at a potential opportunity to send him away before he very much disappoints you. You drafted him extremely high. I don't think he'll return your value, and I think it's just smart business to trade him away when you can go get an ETN and a Devontae Adams. You can go get a Kenneth Walker and an AJ Brown. To be honest with you, I'd go get a Kenneth Walker and Gabe Davis over Christian McCaffrey. He's got a horrible situation. When I say horrible, I don't really mean that the team can't run the ball or that the Niners don't have a lot of weapons, but I think what people don't understand is that the 49ers, led by Jimmy Garoppolo, are going to be limited no matter how many studs you stick on that roster. You can only do so much with a bunch of superstars when your facilitator, Jimmy Garoppolo, can only get the football to so many people in a given game. And it's like time runs out. You barely can score 20 points and put 20 points on the board, which is why the Niners are never going to win against teams that have high-octane offenses like the Buffalo Bills, because the defense is going to get worn down. They're going to get injured like they already are because they're constantly having to try and pull the offense along, and they're on the field too much. And that's going to continue because Shanahan, his play calling is awful lately. He's got a good offensive mind. There's no doubt about it, but Shanahan's not a good coach. He's not. Maybe he could become a good coach eventually, but it's been a while. And he doesn't game plan right. He doesn't use players right. He doesn't make good personnel decisions. He runs his quarterback up the gut like he's Derrick Henry, gets him injured. And now you're wondering, okay, he overuses Deebo all year last year. He had 7 running backs in the running back room. All of them got hurt. Deebo was the RB1 for a significant amount of time, and that's different than his wide back role. Don't confuse what wide back was and what Deebo did at the end of the year, where he played running back, up the gut, up the A gap, up the B gap. Totally different than catching a football 1 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage as a wide receiver and just starting your play with the football in your hands. That's wide back. Get the ball to Deebo at the line of scrimmage. What can he do? How many yards can he take the football instead of waiting for Jimmy to not connect on a short pass because Jimmy's awful? So you got to ask yourself, in this offense with Jimmy G under center, limited offense with all the weapons in the world that can't be utilized. They're all playing at like 70% in terms of output because none of them can play at 100% output. None of them can put 100% into a football game because they're all waiting around for the football. It's like, I know it's a different sport, but imagine like a layup line in basketball. You have LeBron and Giannis and all these different players lined up, all-stars lined up in a line doing layups. But the person catching the ball Every time someone makes a layup, they're taking forever to get the ball back to the next person in line. Just wasting time. They're not capable of doing it fast. They're not good at it. They're inaccurate. They're throwing the ball over their head. The time runs out. They all get maybe one layup. And you had an all-star lineup of athletes ready to just kind of do layup after layup and just show their stuff and drop their skill on the floor. But your facilitator can only get the ball in the hands of the playmakers so much because he's not good. And if the defense is always on the field trying to make up for the offense and get the offense in good field position and can't, then you have what happened the other game where Jimmy G got sacked in the end zone because the defense is just worn out. It's injured, and it's going to continue to get injured because everybody gets injured in San Francisco because of Kyle Shanahan. You can say it's football, people get hurt, but why every year are the 49ers always the most injured team? Why are their running backs always getting injured? Specifically, since we're talking about Christian McCaffrey, why are the running backs always getting injured? They had 7 RBs last year. People laughed about it. We laughed about it during the draft the year prior when they drafted all the running backs, and we're talking about 2021, and we're like, they have 7 running backs, such a funny thing. All of them got hurt. Why are all the running backs getting hurt? Is it just that the scheme's so aggressive? Is it practice? Is it something else we're not thinking about? No one's doing any kind of internal audit on it. They should. So McCaffrey goes, let's talk about the cons here. McCaffrey goes to the one team that has nothing but injuries across the board, more than any team in the NFL. The running back room specifically leads the way with injuries. And he goes to a team with a very limited quarterback where, yeah, they do a lot of bubble screens and jet sweeps and dinks and dunks, but is it going to the RB? No, it's not necessarily designed. None of it's usually designed for the RB. Shanahan has to retool the offense to include Christian McCaffrey, the running back, in a lot of the short yardage game planning. Will he do that? I don't trust that he will. I think his plan of attack, in my opinion, is to hand the football off to Christian McCaffrey, try and continue to do all the bubble screens, dinks and dunks with the wide receivers, maybe get McCaffrey involved in some of that, but I don't think he's planning on doing it to the degree that you or I would do it, that a layman would do it, that a person off the street would do it. We all understand that Christian McCaffrey, especially if you want to keep him healthy, has to be equal parts wide receiver, equal parts running back. Shanahan, I don't think will do that. I don't think he understands the assignment. I think he's going to give him 17, 18 carries a game and give him 2 or 3 receptions instead of giving him 12, 13, 14 carries, giving him 6, 7 receptions, occasionally having a 120-yard receiving game and a 40-yard rushing game, Alvin Kamara-esque type numbers. I don't think he has a clue. I think he believes he's going to run this guy up the gut, throw to him a little bit, continue to do everything he's doing, design plays for other people, and then run the ball. And guess what? Christian McCaffrey, one of the most injury concerning players in 2022, is now an even bigger injury risk walking into the remainder of the season because this man's probably not going to have things designed the way he should see them designed to keep him healthy. So injury risk galore. On top of that, week 7, I told you it was going to be a bye week essentially. Christian McCaffrey was going to come in, very limited usage, not going to do well. Week number 8, we don't know. Maybe he's used properly. Maybe he gets fully fed. Maybe he has 120 total yards and a touchdown. It could happen. But if it doesn't, you're going to have week 7 be essentially a bye week in terms of not being involved. Week 8, disappointing. Week 9, the Niners bye. That means from the trade, 3 straight weeks of nothing. Fantasy football worlds won't have the patience for that, no matter how easy it was to see coming. And for that reason, he's in the panic chamber. Everyone's already freaking out about him. If he does drop a dud in week number 8, whether it's his fault or not, everyone and their mother will be panicking on this guy, and he'll be a good value to maybe go get. We'll address it at that time. But right now, I don't want him. Right now, if I can trade him away on the assumption that, okay, week 7 was week 7, I'll buy him from you, Smitty, and I can get an ETN and a Diggs, or ETN and an Adams, ETN and a St. Brown. Give me Walker and AJ Brown, Walker and Gabe Davis. I'm taking all those things because I'm panicking on CMC, and you should be too.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Panic mode, Christian McCaffrey. Now it's time to talk about Deebo Samuel, who has a lot of parallels to what I just discussed. From the point of Shanahan misusing the offense and the players and the personnel. The part that worries me the most about Debo, well, no, two things. Injury. Shanahan overworking him last year. Shanahan putting his players in horrible spots. When someone tells me, Smitty, that's unfair. I can't believe you just said Shanahan's injuring his players. That's ridiculous. Why did he run his star quarterback up the gut on a designed run that's meant for a fullback or a running back? And why does he teach this man to slide, tell him he needs to protect himself, then run him up the gut, run him up the A gap, run him up the B gap? Why is he doing that? If he wasn't responsible for Trey Lance's injury, tell me what was. Running up the gut is a normal play call for your young star quarterback when you have offensive line issues, putting him in harm's way to run up against 300-pound linemen. You're saying that isn't putting Trey Lance in a vulnerable spot. Okay, that's fine. What about Deebo Samuel? What about running Deebo Samuel up the gut right before halftime on a meaningless play? The same game Trey went down, he ran Deebo Samuel up the gut on the final play before they kneeled the ball down. Why would you not give that carry to a running back? Shanahan doesn't know what he's doing. He's reckless with his players. He's going to get Deebo hurt by double-digit weeks. He's already banged up right now. It concerns me. I'm trading Deebo away. Any chance I get, I'm getting ETN straight up. I'm going after AJ Brown straight up. Of course, anybody above those players, I'll go get. And if I'm wrong, guess what? I'm still not wrong. Even when I'm wrong, I'm going to be right in this circumstance. Why?
Smitty, that sounds stupid.
It's not stupid. Anytime you make a trade, you want to be able to say to yourself, even if I'm wrong, and I'm worried about a player that I shouldn't be worried about, or I'm worried about him and they prove me wrong, you're still right. Why? Because you're buying somebody low. You're going and getting an ETN before he skyrockets in value. You're going and getting an AJ Brown coming off a bye week that has arguably as much value as Deebo Samuel. You're buying a player that's going to deliver for you. So even if I'm wrong, you're still right in stepping into a safer vehicle. And then if I'm wrong, you both make out on the trade. Nobody loses. But if I'm right, you got out of a bad deal and stepped into a much safer player. Deebo Samuel, I'm worried about injury. I'm worried about usage. And the final point is Christian McCaffrey is going to take a lot of his rushing attempts in volume on the ground, which leaves Deebo in a vulnerable spot. He's no longer matchup proof. He's always kind of been matchup proof. If the defense is shutting down the pass, they're running the ball, he's heavily involved. He'll get 60 yards and a touchdown on the ground when he only has 20 yards receiving. And if the run is getting shut down, they'll throw the ball. He'll have 70 yards receiving and a touchdown and only 20 yards on the ground. You take away that ability to flip and be both roles, runner and wide receiver, and you ask him right now to be a wide receiver under the command of Jimmy G, you're going to get inconsistency. Get rid of him for a safe move. Don't sell him dirt cheap. Get rid of him for the packages I'm talking about, but I'm definitely putting Deebo in the panic chamber, and so should you.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Herbert, time to worry. Yeah, I mean, he should be doing better. And Mike Williams now out. We're looking at 4 to 6 weeks for Mike Williams to be out. Now, hopefully Keenan Allen steps up in the nick of time, but it's something that's like, you know, I'm worried about it. Josh Palmer, look for him on waivers. He's a good ad right now. But I'm worried about Herbert. But coming out of the bye week, Keenan Allen will be a little bit healthier. Herbert's going to be healthier. He's been struggling with the ribs. And I bet you that we see more of a version of Herbert that we expected to see all year long after the bye week than anything else. I'm not closing the doors on Herbert. I'm going to put him in the safe zone. And I think that if you need a quarterback or you need some kind of change at all on your team and you've got a big gunslinger like Jalen Hurts and you need a wide receiver like AJ Brown or you need a running back like ETN, you could maybe trade your Hurts into Justin Herbert, especially going into the bye week. People don't get points right now. They're antsy. They want to get rid of them. You go bite the bullet if you can weather through it record-wise. Get Herbert the downgrade from Jalen Hurts, which is a downgrade right now. It is, bottom line. But if you get an ETN or an AJ Brown or a player to that degree, a St. Brown, a Swift, and you give up something small back, whatever the case may be, you get Foreman and Hurts and you get Herbert and Swift, or Herbert and St. Brown, whatever the case may be, you get that extra player, that extra component, and put your faith in Herbert bouncing back at least to a significant degree. I think it could win a league for you if you're in that kind of spot. Now, if you're winning, if you're dominating dominating, don't fix what isn't broken unless somebody comes knocking on your door and offers you an offer you can't refuse. So this trade for Herbert is for a specific fantasy football owner that's in a specific fantasy football spot and bind. It's not for someone's dominating, hey, let's just downgrade your quarterback and take a chance. It's a buy low quarterback. It's a risky play, but I don't put him in the panic chamber. So I'm going to say, Herbert, you're safe, pal. You're safe. Swift is back this week. Of course, there's risk involved, but he's on the rise. He's no longer like, okay, he's not going to play or we're worried about him, so he's not going in the panic chamber, but he's a guy worth gambling on if you need a spark and you need to turn one player into two. We call it dividing and conquering. You take someone like Nick Chubb, you divide him into a Swift and a St. Brown type of combo, an A.J. Brown and Swift, and you're dividing and conquering. Saquon Barkley for Swift and A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley for Swift and another wide receiver or whatever. ETN, if you could get two running backs, divide and conquer. It's a safe way to I think climb back into the race if you're needing a spark. So DeAndre, you are safe. Look, Pitts is in the panic chamber. No question about it. You have one question to ask yourself. Can you trade him? No. No one's taking him. Do you hold him? Yes, you do. If you can afford to. If you can't afford to, your benches are tiny, then cut him and monitor him, I guess. But is he in the panic chamber? Absolutely. But could he bounce back the moment the offense changes and they go to Ritter? Yeah, it's a problem of volume, and that's it. And if Ritter gets in there, that volume problem can get solved pretty quickly. So stop pretending it's Kyle Pitts or that he doesn't have the talent. He does. If you can't envision a scenario where he does bounce back, I'm not saying it's a lock, but if you can't envision that switch being flipped and the offense, changing over to Ritter and Ritter just feeding Pitts and trusting in him, then you don't have a very big imagination. So Kyle Pitts is definitely in the panic chamber, and we're going to sound the panic alarm, but definitely hold him if you've got him.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Zeke Elliott, he's injured, the MCL, he's out week number 8. Tony Pollard's season is here. Of course, you should panic on a guy that has over 2,000 carries if you include the playoffs to his name. To put that in perspective, Christian McCaffrey, who we're worried about breaking down, right? He had under 800 carries to his name, NFL carries to his name walking into the season. Zeke Elliott, if you include the playoffs, had over 2,000 carries entering the 2022 season. So absolutely be panicked on Zeke because Pollard's coming for his job. And guess what? Tryouts are this Sunday.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Keenan Allen is definitely a big risk going forward, but he's coming back. Mike Williams is out. It's a good gamble to take. I'm going to close the doors on him, but it's a good gamble to take if you're doing some kind of one player for two. But just don't count on him as a big component if you're trying to trade like a Nick Chubb into two players and you're getting like Stevenson, who I like, but you'd have to get a big name wide receiver with Stevenson in order to make that trade balanced enough in your favor. And if you're doing like a Stevenson and then a Keenan Allen, it doesn't make sense. Keenan Allen's not that good of a player in terms of investment right now. So is he a good player to go get or hold? Absolutely. Do I trade him away? Maybe, but I don't think he's got a lot of trade value right now. He's definitely in the panic chamber until he proves otherwise.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Mixon is definitely in the panic chamber because he's never really bounced back fully, but I kind of like him as a buy low if you're in a bind, if you're doing that divide and conquer thing we're talking about where you've got a Chubb or you've got a Barkley. And again, if it isn't broke, don't try and fix it. But if you have had injuries all over and you've got Chubb or Barkley or whatever, even if it's like a Cooper Kupp or a JJ, I don't want you trading those guys. But if you're losing and you're not even competing for second place, let alone first place, then you've got to do something. You can't sit on your hands with 2 wins in a horribly built team. So Mixon would be a good player to get when you're going for 2 players for your one and him being the running back, and you get A.J. Brown, you throw your stud in. It's a good gamble to take, but until he proves he's no longer a huge, like, inconsistent risk and he has the ability to score a big amount of points, he's in the panic chamber until further notice, but a decent go-get.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Najee Harris, how could he not? He lives in the panic chamber. Why was he even outside of the panic chamber? No one let him out. He's been in there since week 1. And if anybody's still holding him right now, and you got 2 wins, I don't mean to be rude, but you have only yourself to blame. I've been literally saying trade him since week 1, and he's been one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy football 2022. Now, granted, I liked him walking into week 1, but it's a adjust and adapt season, and it was clear as day, writing on the wall, that things weren't turning around for Najee. A lot of people are saying,
Buy him low, buy him low.
in certain contexts, that makes sense. Like, you have no shot. You've been hit with injury. Brees, Javonte, you've had everybody go out. Mike Williams, whatever. And now you have like 2 players left. You literally can't compete. No chance at all. But you can maybe go get Najee, putting together like Foremans and other wide receivers like that. Or you divide and conquer a middle range player like a Higgins into Najee and something. Like, I understand all that, and I would advise, and I have advised some people, very specific individuals, to go get Najee, to roll that dice, because you have no other shot. But in general, if you're competing, if you've got 4 wins or more, you got a good team, or you're trying to just mix things up, he's never going to be a target for me to toss out for you, because I don't see it. He doesn't look good. The offense looks putrid. And there's no way, there's no path for him to become like a top 7 to 8 running back. There's no path for him. He's not looking good, and he doesn't have the volume. But could he bounce back a little bit? Yeah. Do I trade him if you still own him? Do I trade him for nothing? No. Do you get rid of him just because I keep saying you should have already traded him? You should have already traded him. Maybe your league doesn't trade at all, and for that, I can't help, and you can't help that either if you're in that situation. But I do think there are creative ways to trade players like this that people aren't thinking of. Throwing in an additional player and giving 2 for somebody's 1 that really is a lateral trade to them, but in your mind, you're going across position because they need RBs. That's the thing. If you need to get rid of Najee, don't trade him for a running back. You can't do that. You could have traded him for ETN before last week when I told you to go get ETN at Najee pricing, and you could have did it. Or at least 2 weeks ago, you could have did it. 3 weeks ago, you could have definitely did it. 4 weeks ago, it would have been in the bag. You would have got more with ETN using your Najee. So there are creative ways to get rid of him. But if you're at a point right now, don't go after an RB. Trade him for a wide receiver, and you could maybe still get a Gabe Davis. You may still get a wide receiver that is like Higgins. You could potentially get Higgins for Najee if you're going to a team that needs RBs and you need a wide receiver and it works for you. But Najee's in trouble, and I'm not going near him for the most part.
Alert. Panic mode initiated.
JT, you know I love JT at the cost of entry. There's no reason why you shouldn't be taking a stab at trying to acquire JT on the cheap right now. He still has the makings of a top 5 running back, and I like the fact that Ellinger is going in as the quarterback. Matt Ryan's been benched. Ellinger, a more mobile and potentially better quarterback. We'll see. Going into the lineup, everyone's excited about it. Could he flop? Yeah. But could this change the dynamic of the offense just enough for them to get back to the run? He's mobile. He can facilitate it, get the football to Pittman, and get it spread out a little bit. Just enough to give JT enough room to not see 8-man fronts. That's the concern, is will the offense be so limited under Ellinger that JT's seeing stacked boxes and bigger box counts? I don't think that'll be the case. We'll see what they can do on Sunday, but I'm pretty excited about what might be in store for JT with Ellinger under center, and I think you should be too. And the fact that you can trade in the divide and conquer sense, you got a Chubb, you got a Barkley, you got somebody that's in that top 6, 7 overall, you can take that player, even a wide receiver like JJ or Cup or whoever you have, and if you need to make a trade, only if you need to make a trade, please understand what I'm saying. I don't want anybody trading JJ that doesn't need to trade JJ, or Cup that doesn't need to trade Cup. But if you have injuries, you've been decimated, your team's full of busts, whatever the case may be, trading a Cup or trading a Chubb or trading a Barkley or trading a Jacobs for JT and getting a Gabe Davis, for JT and getting an ETN, if somebody doesn't know what they have an ETN, trading JT and getting even a Pittman in some cases, using your one player is a good recipe for having a sneaky good comeback and getting top 5 running back numbers before this could be the last week you buy low on JT. And I said this about Eckler weeks back. I said this about Gabe Davis. I said this about ETN. I said this about Pittman before. Pittman did actually kind of regress again, so you could maybe get him again. But JT is this week's buy low season on JT, and it ends. It ends after this week. JT's not in the panic chamber. In my opinion, JT is one of the better go-get players in fantasy football. 2022 entering week number 8. Go get him. Dalvin Cook is a big worry. Look, he doesn't fit this offense. The offense transitioned over to a more Ram-style attack, feeding JJ, turning JJ into a Cooper Kupp, which is fantastic for JJ, but it's bad for the running game. It's bad for the consistency, and Cook has done a lot with a little at times, which has salvaged his box score from time to time. And if he doesn't get those breakaway touchdown runs, he's going to have a really bad game some games. And I'm fearful that if you let him have another dud game, it's going to be hard to trade him away, so it's better to try right now. Make sure you keep him cuffed to Madison because he's still got that shoulder issue where his ball and socket has popped out and damaged the labrum that keeps the ball and the socket together, and he's wearing a flak jacket. I think he's still wearing it, but it's hampering his ability to raise his arm, obviously, and even though he's toughing through it, he's a monster, he's an aggressive beast, it's still a worry, and he could get injured at any moment, even with the flak jacket on. If he hits it the right way, it could be so painful, the guy could be out like that. He's definitely a risk. I definitely trade him. I'd take ETN straight up. You can at me if you want. I go get Kenneth Walker straight up if you can get it done. You probably can't even get that done. I would do all kinds of creative things. I'd go across position, which is always, again, the best way to trade a running back because people will pay more for a running back because of the scarcity, because of the need of their team. And you can probably go get an Adams who's had a bye, a St. Brown who's had a bye, or a Diggs that's had a bye, or even an AJ Brown that's had a bye over Cook. I'd do any of those things. Definitely in the panic chamber, and he's staying there.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Kyler, he looks awful. If you're in a bind, you have no quarterback, you want to take a gamble on a guy. He's a good quarterback to take a gamble on if you're streaming QBs and it's not working and it's stressing you out, and you can go get him cheap because his owners are not liking what they're seeing. So great buy low, but is he a lock to bounce back? No. But I would buy him low, but he's definitely in the panic chamber.
Alert. Alert. Panic mode initiated.
Are we really worried about him? A little bit, right, for a week-to-week type of thing. But I don't think he's in the panic chamber overall for anybody. But you might be able to get him a little cheaper than you should be able to get him. And if you're in a weird situation where you're trying to get rid of somebody like Dalvin Cook, or you're trying to get rid of somebody like Debo, I would take Andrews straight up for Dalvin Cook. I would take Andrews straight up for Debo. It's a real genius move for somebody that wants to get out of the Cook game, or get out of the Debo game, or get out of the CMC game, and you get some additional player with Andrews. Somehow you get a Gabe Davis with it. Somehow you get an ETN with it. You give up Christian McCaffrey. Maybe you throw Foreman back to make it look, more balanced. You trade CMC and Foreman for Andrews and ETN or something like that. But he makes a great go-get. Not going to panic at all. Pittman, again, he bounced back and then he kind of regressed a little bit, but Ellinger getting in there is going to be good. I'm not panicked on Pittman. I'm buying Pittman. St. Brown, there's no reason to panic. Some might be panicking, and if their door's closing, I'm going to go buy. His bye week is out of the way. The dude is a top 5 to 7 wide receiver still, and he's a whole week healthier off the ankle. Swift is coming back to stretch the offense and just keep defenses honest. So St. Brown, to me, is one of the best buy low wide receivers right now. Or even if you're going to purchase him at a medium price tag, he's one of the best players to go get walking into week number 8. I think he goes on a tear. He's got a chip on his shoulder all the time. Imagine how big the chip is right now on St. Brown's shoulder after people have been writing him off for a couple weeks in a row. This dude's going to be so upset on Sunday. He's going to glare down everybody across the field and just go on a tear. I know it. I'm going and getting St. Brown. He makes a fantastic player to go get when you're doing the divide and conquer move and you take your Cup or your JJ because you have to trade because your team's in shambles, and you trade that one player for St. Brown and a running back. St. Brown and ETN, St. Brown and Swift. You figure out a way to get 2 players, St. Brown being the wide receiver you're getting back, and it's a fantastic move to get out of a problem. So St. Brown, you're completely safe, my guy. That leaves us with Dylan, who is in the panic chamber, given that you probably bought him in the 6th or 7th round. So, you're still panicking on him. But people that give up on Dylan, You may. I don't know that this is going to happen. Aaron Jones could get traded. Dillon could get traded. We don't really know. But even if that doesn't happen, and these two guys, Dillon and Aaron Jones, are on the roster in Green Bay after the trade deadline, I still think that people that cut Dillon, they don't find room for him on the bench. Benching him, I understand. But if you can't find room on your bench to treat him like a Rashad White or treat him like a Isaiah Pacheco or treat him like a Khalil Herbert, then you are going to be so mistaken and so upset at yourself if Aaron Jones, who's very injury prone, gets injured and this guy vaults into the top 7 to 12 for running backs go forward the moment that an injury happens. He could save your season. Be patient with him. Don't be like the individuals who cut ETN and cut Dameon Pierce after week 1. We heard all the stories and we saw a bunch of the comments, and people scooped up Walker in like the third and second week, and you'd have people coming in much tougher, more aggressive leagues going, I don't see any of that. That's crazy. I can't believe people are cutting Walker in your league. What kind of league do you have? It happens all the time. If you cut Dillon, you could have that same kind of disappointment in yourself that you didn't just hold him. He's got league-winning potential. I don't know if it ever gets unlocked or unleashed. It may not. Understand that. But if it does, he can win you a league, and you're going to be crazy to let him go. You're going to look crazy after the fact in hindsight if you let him go. And if he gets dropped, pick him up in any league. Don't hesitate. Don't come ask me. Pick him up and then tell me about it. Dillon, you are safe, young man. That is it. That's Panic Chamber week number 8. Brought to you by Grindhouse. Grindhouse, vintage movie tees straight from the attic. Movies from 40 plus years ago. Original prints on tees and hoodies. I'm giving the Spider one away. This one right here, I'm wearing it. I'm giving away the Spider hoodie on my Instagram later. We'll do it today. I said tomorrow, we'll do it today. I'm recording this, and then I'm going to release it in the morning. So by the time this is out, you're going to want to go to my Instagram, go to my stories, and we're going to give one of these bad boys away. And I want you to enter. Go to grindhouse.com. Go to Grindhouse Supply on Instagram. Go to thefantasyfootballshow.com for your one-on-one text advice and your bold predictions, your rankings, your trade calculator. I invented the trade calculator in the fantasy football industry back in 2003. And so I want you to go and check it out over at thefantasyfootballshow.com and get your one-on-one text advice from me. Get on my text line, my one-on-one text line. Go to thefantasyfootballshow.com. And don't forget to play Underdog Fantasy. Is your season in shambles? Play Underdog Fantasy. They'll match up to $100 on your first deposit. So if you deposit $50, they'll give you $50. If you deposit $100, they'll give you $100. And you can go play Underdog Fantasy and play these weekly contests where you can start over fresh, knowing what you know now. Go into week 8. I imagine they're going to have some kind of like mini season from like weeks 10 through 17 or something. We'll kind of hang tight for that information. But once they do that, we'll get on. This is why you want to go sign up now using promo code Smitty. Go sign up now, because if they do open up some mini seasons, you'll want to be signed up and ready so that you aren't trying to get in and the spots go quick. But when they open up these best ball drafts where it's like week 10 through, I don't know if they're going to do it, but if they do, they did it week 7 through 17, and we drafted a bunch of teams, and the prizes are crazy. And you go into a draft of 12, and then if you make it out of that after week 14, you go into the bigger bucket, and then so forth and so forth. So we'd all be facing each other if we made it to the final round, battling it out for first place in total points in that final week 17. I love Underdog. It's so fun. You can do the over-unders. You can do the rival props. Go to Underdog Fantasy, link in description, and they'll match up to $100 in your first deposit. Now go play Underdog right now. I'm live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. I'm also live whenever news breaks. That's a lot of lives, right? Not done. I'm live at midnight on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So join me during any of those live streams. I don't want to hear, Smitty, I never make your lives. I'm live Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm live whenever news breaks, and I'm live at midnight, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I forgot, Sunday mornings, the entire last half hour leading into morning game kickoff. I'm live there too. You have no excuse. I'll see you there. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Subscribe to the show.
For goodness sake, hit the like button. And also, I respond to about 99% of all comments that happen on a new video drop. So this video, for the first 24 hours, I will respond to almost every comment. So ask me a question in the comments. Get out of here. No, don't get out of here. Go to the comments. Ask me a question. Go.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.